From the Studio 13 Studios in Splendora, Texas.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. I don't have a guest today. Just got busy and was unable to book somebody for this week. But you know, it's kind of good because I wanted to have an opportunity to tell you guys a little bit more about this channel, about Hank's Think Tank, about how we started, where we are. I want to give you guys some ideas of what happens behind the scenes, how I run the podcast, how I go about getting guests. What they see and feel when they get here, what to expect, things like that. And then I'm going to close out with, some information about where I'd like to go and where I'd like to take the channel. It's been many years now that I've been doing this, and it's been a fun thing. So I just wanted to give you guys an idea of how it all began. So back in 2020, I had decided I was going to run for a board position with the East Montgomery County Improvement District. And there was an open position there, and I knew a couple of people were going to throw their name in the hat, and I decided to do it. And I decided this because I was really curious about what MSED does and how they go about just doing their business and such and so forth. It really wasn't that great of an idea for me to run at that time, but I decided to do it anyway. So the election was scheduled for May of 2020. And of course, COVID hits before that. And with everything that was going on, they decided to move the election to the general election that was in November. So at about 11 months, something like that. Maybe it wasn't 11, but it was 7 months at least to campaign. Interesting, though, because we were shut down. And so, how do you run a successful campaign if you can't go out and meet people and shake their hand and do stuff like that? So what happened, I started to get on Facebook. At that time, I didn't have a very big presence at all. Not a lot of people knew me. I did know some elected officials and a few other people in the community. And so I thought I had a chance with that support behind me. So what I decided to do was grab a camera, and I didn't even have one. I went to Best Buy and I bought the cheapest camera I could get, basically because I just didn't have the bucks. And I started to shoot some video because I thought to myself, if people can see who I am and they can see what I believe in and see my platform, they would be much more apt to vote for me. And, maybe I'd have a chance at winning this election. So I started running the videos and they were doing okay. Nothing spectacular. Nobody was getting famous. I wasn't, gaining a big following, but I was getting some views and I thought I was making some progress. And I was learning. That's the thing about it, is I was learning along the way how to shoot video, how to manage audio, how to create a presence, things like that. So that was working for me pretty well. And somehow in the middle of one of those videos, and it wasn't really even something that I consciously thought, I just said, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a podcast, whether I win or lose. I'm going to start a podcast that provides information to the community, meaning all of Montgomery County, and even farther than that, if I could get the attention, and provide some information about voting, provide some information about candidates, what happens with elected officials, how they do their jobs, all that kind of stuff that a lot of people really don't know. And I thought it was a good opportunity for me to do that. So I started to gather the equipment and means necessary to create a podcast. And, it's interesting how all this came together. I thought to myself, okay, so Hank, how are you going to do this? You've never done this kind of thing before. I'm not an audio guy, or at least I wasn't then. I'm not a video guy. So I need to learn all this stuff. Where do you begin? So what I actually did was I went to the Joe Rogan Experience podcast and I watched a bunch of that long form stuff, figured out what he did, how he did it, got as much information on audio that I could, on video that I could, And I ended up with about 3 or 4, again, crappy cameras, not so great mics. I had a little digital board that I was using that I used for many years. And so that worked well for me. And so I started to put together a table. I just got a fold up table and a couple of chairs and started to do some test video by myself. Ended up getting some family members in, and we had a chat to see if I could figure out how to do a multicam edit, which was quite an experience. And when I thought I had it down, I was at work one day and I met a couple of guys, and they had just recently gotten out of prison, and they had PhDs. One of them had written a book. One of them was going to become a professor at a local college. And I thought, man, these guys probably would be able to, have a conversation for an hour or so. So I invited them to do the show. They accepted. And that's kind of how it all began. And that was, I think I numbered as like episode 136 or something. There was a reason why I didn't start at episode 1. What it was, I don't remember at this point, but it made sense to me then. And it was called The Texas Prison System. That video is still on the channel. The audio's horrible. The shots were horrible. The lighting was horrible. Everything about it, except for the conversation and content, was absolutely off. And it was still, to this day, my favorite video. Best one I did, just because it was fresh, it was new. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was just trying to see if I could make something like that work. And I taught myself some really important lessons in that. The first one is that this podcast thing from the outside looks really simple. It looks easy. You're just sitting down having a conversation. Cameras are rolling. Everything's good. There's nothing else really going on. But in reality, there is so much to running a show like this. It's audio, it's video, it's content, it's ideas, it's meeting people, it's introducing myself to people that I don't know. It's having long-form conversations with people that I may have met 30 minutes prior to us sitting down and starting that conversation. It's really difficult. It's booking guests. It's convincing guests that I'm not going to go into attack mode. It's being honest. It's doing everything that you can do to get people to, number one, be willing to sit down and have a conversation about something that's important to them. And number two, being able to dig out what needs to be dug out in those conversations. That's not an easy aspect of doing what I do. Capturing all that on film and audio and presenting it in a manner that keeps it at least halfway entertaining for the viewer. Now, I'm not a successful podcaster. I mean, I've done quite a few shows. I don't think my views have ever busted 3,000 views. That's, by YouTube's terms and conditions, it's pretty pitiful. But I keep doing it. I keep hoping that someday I'm going to have one of those winning conversations in here that takes off. It might not. And if it doesn't, what's going to happen is I'm going to keep doing it. Because there are some people out there who have learned from the shows that I've done. There's some people who have gained some valuable information. I've been able to help some guys in their campaigns that maybe didn't have a shot before they sat at my table and had a shot after they got up and left. I think I've provided some pretty good community information. It's also given birth to the annual hurricane preparedness seminars that we do. We just completed our 4th, which was amazing. So I think it provides value to the community. I'm hoping to expand that value over the next few months. I'm hoping to do better in my production. I'm hoping to do better in my ability to interview people. I'm hoping to learn some things that I haven't been able to quite figure out yet, like how to keep your mouth shut when somebody's talking. That's a hard one for me for some reason. I tend to say yeah and and that's right. And I say a lot of those things while people are talking. because I feel like I still need to be part of their conversation. And what I need to do, as opposed to doing that, is just make eye contact and let them know I'm still here, which shouldn't be hard to do. But for some reason, I do struggle with that. It's becoming harder to get guests because there's a lot of podcast competition out there, and there's a lot of podcasters who have made the critical error of going into attack mode and not making their guests comfortable and letting them tell their story in the manner by which they want to tell it. So, it's just not easy, getting a little bit more difficult as times go on. And then the successful podcasters out there have definitely ramped up production. And so I'm trying to at least maintain a certain level of production and quality that we can give. I've got good equipment. So the equipment isn't really the problem. It's more on the editing side and more of the lighting side and things like that I'll be discussing with you as we move on in this video. So what I'd also like to do in this video, and I'm going to be getting up to do that in just a few minutes, is just show you guys the studio and show you what someone sees and what they hear and feel and what it's like for them when they come and meet me for the first time and sit down at my table and have the discussions that we have. I hope you guys will stick with me through this video. I think it's going to be good. Even though I don't have a guest, I think I'm going to be able to provide you with some information that maybe you didn't know. And I just want to say thanks for viewing. Even if you don't subscribe, I appreciate the views. Any views that I get are always good ones. If I do a video and it gets 60, 50 views, hey man, that's 50 or 60 people that didn't see it before. And maybe something got to one of them and it helped one of them out. That's what this thing is really all about. Nobody's making any money here. I've spent a lot of my own money putting this whole production together. I continue to do so. And that's not really what I'm after. I'm more after gaining a following and making sure that I provide some quality to the public that I attempt to entertain. So see you in the next segment. The next segment's going to be kind of a walkthrough of the studio, and I'm going to explain some things, how we got here, where we used to be, and what it was like before and where I plan on going. So see you in just a minute. Thanks. Hey guys, I'm back. As you can see, I've had a change of clothes and things are going a little bit better. Actually, it's the next day. I just kind of ran out of time yesterday. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about where the channel is and where I'd like to see it go. So a lot of the other podcasters have ramped up their production. They've done so much better with their camera work, so much better with their lighting, and I'm really trying my best to keep up with that kind of stuff. So I've made some set changes. I've also added a new key light. I don't know if you can tell or not, but my lighting is a little bit better. Switched out the way that I manage the audio, and so I think my audio is a little bit better as well. Got rid of the monstrosity of mic booms that I had before and went with something that's a little bit more lower profile that seems to work a little bit better, or you can move them around a little bit better without a whole bunch of noise and such. And also you can see across the table now without it being an obstructive view for whoever I'm having a conversation with. So I wanted to explain a little bit, guys, about how I go about getting guests. So, when things happen in the community, or if I meet someone new, or if I'm out and I come across somebody who's interesting and has a story, maybe they're running for a certain position, or maybe they've written a book, or they're starting a new museum or something like that, I'll have a preliminary discussion about, hey, would you be interested in something? And then normally, instead of going through them to get them booked for the show, I have to go through whoever they have that may be their publicist or maybe their assistant or something like that. We go through those long conversations of ensuring that they're going to get what they want out of doing a show such as this. Nobody gets paid for anything here, so this is something that I think the guest has to feel like they're going to benefit from. And so I always try to ensure to them that I'm going to provide the type of information and the scope of conversation that they want to have on the show. And that isn't always easy to pull out. Sometimes it can be rather difficult to do. In addition to that, I'm trying to, just upgrade my production a little bit better. I have had some set changes, and I'll be walking around with a camera pretty soon to let you guys know what those are. Showing you the studio a bit. Not trying to show off. I'm just trying to give you guys an insight as to what people see when they come in, how they feel when they're here, the environment that we've tried to create to entice these people to be comfortable enough to sit down and have a conversation that appears that they're having with someone they've known for a while, when in fact, I may have only known them 10 minutes or so. So, all right, guys, I'm going to walk around with a cam a little bit. I'm not that great at taking that kind of footage, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to do a little overdubbing audio-wise to let you know what you're looking at and stuff like that. But I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. I'm an open book, man. If you ever want to call, give me a call. If you ever want to drop by the studio, I take all callers, so I don't say no to anybody. If this is something you'd like to see, if you'd like to come and be a studio audience member while we're shooting one of these things, I've done that kind of thing before, and I wouldn't mind doing that again. So I want to support the community that supports me. So let me know what you need. Let me know what kind of guests you'd like to have. And I know, I've said this before, and not a lot of people comment. I don't know if you guys are worried that I'm going to get into a long discussion with you. I'll just read your comments. I may like it or something like that. But if you'll let me know what kind of content you want, I'll try to give that to you. I want this to be a place that you guys want to come back to every week and view these videos. That would be just wonderful for me, and that's really what I'm trying to do. Also, I want you guys to know that for about 3 weeks now, I have uploaded my videos and set them to a schedule. So every Sunday at 6 p.m. is when that new video is going to hit. So it'll normally have guests with it. Sometimes when things happen and there aren't a guest, it's going to be just me. Who knows, maybe I'll reproduce something else or put together a couple of shorts or a collage of videos, a compilation, so to speak. But we'll do some creative stuff coming up in the future. I've got a bunch of good guests coming in, and I think you guys are going to enjoy the content we're getting ready to pull out. This year is going to be a banner year for Hank's Think Tank. So before I close out and just start showing you guys the studio, I'd like to thank you for the views that you've provided. I'd like to thank you if you've subscribed to the channel. That's helped a lot. And just thanks for being there. If you've ever met me in public and I didn't know who you were, sorry for acting like I don't know who you are. Sometimes I don't. But it's been great to meet so many new people who have such good things to say about the show. So stand by, and we'll be showing some video of the studio in the next segment coming up. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to try my best to show you guys around the studio. Basically, this is what you see when you walk in the door. This is the lobby area, and this is where I'll sit down with guests and have preliminary conversations about what they're expecting, what they're wanting out of the podcast. Right through that door is where the studio proper is. You walk in, take a few steps forward, and let me turn slower. This is my office, and this is where I'll go in and do research and make phone calls and try to get guests and do the other work that I have to do to try to earn a living as well. So this is kind of where I hang out and do my thing. I'm also going to show you guys what it's like from my view out. And then, when you come out of the office, that's the front door. And I've got a window. Looks like it's getting a little dark there, but yeah. Now I've got the lobby area. I'm going to walk through here a little bit. I have a kitchenette, where I make coffee for guests and have other drinks. Got a full fridge. I try my best to keep a good stock of whatever someone may want. Whatever kind of drinks they'd want, including beers and colas and waters and sodas and juices and whatever else somebody may need. This TV on the wall is wired into the control room of the studio. So if my guest has a guest, or they have security people or production people or whoever they may have, they can watch on that TV everything that's going on live in the studio. And it makes it pretty nice because in that way the guest of the guest can just sit and relax and enjoy themselves and not have to worry about being perfectly quiet. The two rooms between the lobby and the studio are completely isolated. This hallway goes down to the restroom and the IT closet, things like that. I keep a wall of fame, and this represents about maybe, 5 or 10% of the people that we've had on the show, and it gives my guests an opportunity to see who else has been on the show and figure out who they may know. Okay, so stepping into the studio, I've changed things up a little bit. I've got new lighting now that we're working with. Everything in the studio, in the lobby, and everywhere else is 10-foot ceilings, so it feels pretty big when you're in here. These curtains act as a sound baffle, and they also provide a pretty good backdrop. My table, my podcast table, is something I had built a couple of years ago. I'm really proud of it. It's a great table. It's got some engravings done with the Studio 13 logo. I've recently changed out my microphone booms, so now they're low profile and you don't have to worry about trying to have an obstructed view of the guests. Of course, this is the view from my shooting camera, which is basically back here. And it's so that's the view that you would see if you were standing here and it wasn't just a camera view. Of course, I've got a better close-up than what I'm providing now. And then this would be the view of the guest camera. So there's a guest camera that shoots them, and that's pretty much it. This TV is tied into the internet. It's also a lyric screen, so when we have bands in here, if somebody needs to be able to read their lyrics, they can. I've got another bigger TV on the wall up here, and this is in case we have reference content. So if somebody needs something pulled up on the internet that they need to read, that guest can look up and grab that information right there. It's out of the camera shot, but it is there, and we've actually put a camera on it in the past before and had it in the shot. So, all my stuff for studio stuff is right here in this corner. I'm taking you to the control room now. And so this room is where the magic happens. This is the control room. All the audio goes through this board. It's a really big board, but at the same time, we do have bands and musicians that come in to record. And so we use this board for that. It's just the first couple of channels or for the mics on the table. There's basically what's going on my screen when I come in to edit. And I've got a window in this control room that faces through the kitchen to the outside window, so I don't feel too confined in here. But this is a good room. I mean, there's another couch in here for guests to come and sit down, and they can go through the editing process or the monitoring process if they're listening to music and such. This is where all of the cabling is for microphones, for cameras, for amps, for monitoring, for whatever we may need that for. And really, guys, that's, we're getting kind of close to the end here. There's not a whole lot else to show you however I'd like to, but there's just not much there. I guess I could show you, I do keep a full bar. It's located inside of this. And if anybody's a drinker or they'd like to just have a drink, they can make one, while they're here in the lobby. Sometimes I have guests that'll pour a little something just to relax their nerves a bit, because people do get nervous when they're on camera. Well, listen, thanks for joining us for this tour. I appreciate it. I love the studio. It's a good place. It's, like I said, there's 10-foot ceilings. It's big. It's a great atmosphere to work in. It's a great atmosphere to create in. And hope this gave you a little bit more insight on how we do Hank's Think Tank and what to expect if you're ever a guest on the show. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next one.